found it. But you can never be too careful. So Shana Tova, and if you just saw a little exchange between my wife and me, that was over sunscreen. I wasn't sure if the sunscreen that I brought yesterday could be found because it moved around, but it did, but she brought an extra thing, and that's the funny thing. When we make our high holiday preparations, right, you have your sermons ready, you have your shofar, you have all your talits, your kippot. I never imagined that sunscreen would be probably the most important thing of them all. But we have it, we've got it on. I promised Hazanit Yael that if she wanted to wear sunglasses, she could. So if you choose to, that's more than fine with me.
Too radical, too radical.
Too radical. All right, because we are going to continue to make some cuts, and we're going to start right away with Shacharit on page 69.
בתעצומות עוזך, הגדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח והנורא בנורותיך. המלך יושב, על כיסא רם ונישא שוב. ננו צדיקים באדוני לישרים נאווה תהילה בפי ישרים תתרומה. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הגדול ותשפחות אלוהיו. אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך מלכי העולמים.
We're on the bottom of page 69. Couple things. We do, when the thing's cut out, we know, right? You don't have to tell us it's cutting it out. Like I can hear it right now, cutting it out. First thing I'd like to ask everybody to do is turn off your cell phones. Because one of the theories, since it worked immediately at 8:45, we tested everything yet again. Everything was working very, very well. One of the theory, and it worked on Friday night, it worked on Saturday morning, no cut out. So one of the guesses is that there's so many cell phones out here, it's interfering with the frequencies. We're going to keep doing the best we can. We're going to move some stuff around. We're going to try different mics. We're going to try batteries, all that stuff. But there's only so much we can do. And if again you ask, well, don't you test it? Yes, we test it incessantly. But it does happen. So if you try to turn off your cell phones, we would appreciate it.
Go home, turn it off, okay.
Yehesh meraba mevorach leolam leomaya yibarach yibarach yitabach yibar v'kromach v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach shemei l'kudeshah berichu Le'ela Uberchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Amiram ve'imeru
Please rise for the Baruch Hu, page 71. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Remain seated.
Baruch Adonai melech haolam. Yotzer v'orech chosech, chosech shalom u'orech hakol.
All right, we are going to jump now all the way to page 75. Bottom of the page.
Or chadash al Zion Ta'ir, or chadash al Zion Ta'ir, or chadash al Zion Ta'ir, or chadash al Zion Ta'ir. V'nizke kulanu mehera le'yomoro. V'nizke kulanu mehera le'yoro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hameorot. Ahava harava hatanu Adonai Eloheinu Kam lagedol avitecha Tamat aleinu Avinu malkeinu Ba'avur avoteinu Shebachu becha Avinu malkeinu V'atelamdechu b'chaim Ken techoneinu b'lamdeinu Avinu ha'av harachaman Amrachem rachem aleinu V'tem delibenu lehavinu haskil lishmoa Lilmadu lelamed Lishmor v'lasot U'lekayem ekol divrei Talmud Toratecha v'yava V'ha'erneinu b'toratecha V'dahabek v'neinu b'mitzvotecha Ve'achel levaveinu le'ahava u'yara et shemecha Elo nevash le'olam va'ed V'lo nevash le'olam va'ed Ki b'Shem הגדול סלע באמת להודו לך ולייחדך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Page 77.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך קומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם
Amen.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמן.
All right, we are going to jump all the way to top of page 80.
תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך ומבורך משה בני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדי חנומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. We begin the Amidah out loud and together on page 81.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor VaNorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avod, U'mevii Goel Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava. Misod Chachamim תחנונים לכלות ולכהן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני האדונים. זכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכתבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך מהמית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה מי כמוך אהב הרחמים זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
אמן.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהייך ציון לדור ודור הללויה ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל תהילות ישראל אל נא.
Kedusha, page 86.
ובכן ולך תעלה קדושה כי אתה אלוהינו מלך נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב היד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות בכל הארץ כבודו אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מתנסים לעומת צרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תראנה המלך yedei Davi Mashiach Tzidkecha Imloch Adonai leolam Elohayich Zion Lidor vador Hallelujah Lidor vador nagi kolecha ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha naktish v'shivchach Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed ki hamelech gadol v'kadosh ata.
We continue on our own, pages 87 through 91. And when you're done with your private Amidah, you can be seated.
בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל lefanecha Beit Yisrael lechaim tovim uleshalom Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom.
Amen. All right. We are now going to turn to page 92. Page 92 for Avinu Malkeinu. If Joe and Sheila Millman are here, all right, they are. You're going to go ahead and open the ark, and we're going to rise. We're going to do the Avinu Malkeinu more traditionally today. The first part done chanted in traditional chant, and then we'll go silently, and then we'll end with the refrain that you know so well.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha Avinu Malkeinu en lanu melech ela ata Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu leman shemecha Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova Avinu Malkeinu batol Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer chaim tovim Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer gula v'yeshua Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer parnasa v'chalkala Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer zichuyot Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer slicha u'mechila Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu Vaneinu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu Vaneinu Ki Ein Banu Maasim Aseh Imanu Tzedaka v'chesed Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu Vaneinu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu Vaneinu Ki Ein Banu Maasim Aseh Imanu Tzedaka v'chesed Aseh Imanu Tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu.
All right, at this point, we will begin Kaddish Shalem, and then we begin our Torah service. I would suggest staying standing because you're going to be standing in just a moment for the Torah service anyway. 94.
Yikadav yikadav shemei rabba
Amen.
be'omad divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kari v'imeru Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'trama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha Le'ela, le'ela, min kol berchatav shirata, tishbechatav v'nechemata, damiram be'yoma v'imeru. Tikabel zloton v'otahon, dechol Yisrael, kadam v'ohon dirishmaya v'imeru. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imeru. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imeru.
All right, we continue now with the Torah service. We'd like to invite Sam Tobin and Obi Clark to stand by the ark in preparation for its opening. Dean Goldfein and Steve Steiner to do the very short Torah carries. Just sort of near the ark. Now, I'll announce this again, although it seems to be working better now. We have something not behind the wall, so maybe that's helping. But if you are able to turn your cell phone actually off, not just on vibrate or whatever, it's great because there's so many frequencies running around here. It can interfere with the sound system. So if you're able to do that, it is appreciated. If you're not, we understand, but of course, keep them silent and hidden. All right, so, Ein Kamocha, page 96.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom av harachamim hetiv averson ha'el Sion tivnech omot Yerushalayim tivnech omot Yerushalayim Vayehi Vinsoa Haron Vayomer Moshe Uma Adonai Ve'afusu Oivecha Ve'anusu Nesanecha Mipanecha Ki Mitzion Tetzei Torah Ki Mitzion Tetzei Torah Udevar Adonai Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim, L'Rav Chesed Be'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Pesha V'Chata V'Naket. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim, L'Rav Chesed Be'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Pesha V'Chata Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim, L'Rav Chesed Be'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Pesha V'Chata.
All right, we just taking the chorus out of the ark. Go ahead and close the ark, Rosie, and Shema, 98.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Eloheinu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Nanu l'Adonai iti, u'neromem Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod. Ki tov hashamayim u'ba'aretz, ki tov hashamayim u'ba'aretz. Adonai amam ba'avat, ve'ha'minasa l'chol Rosh romemu. Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hishachavu, l'Adon Rav Kadoshu. Romemu. Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hishachavu, l'Har Kadosho. Ikadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
All right, Yasher Koach, Chazani Yael, and we may be seated. Right, so we're going to turn to page 103, the Torah reading for the second day. Genesis 22, it is the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Their journey is both figurative and literal as they are ascending up the hill to offer the sacrifice. And you know the story. I would assume everyone is here at this point, but it doesn't happen. Spoiler alert. So, all right. So Susan Simon is the first Torah reader. It's harder to get people to our teens on the second day. Some of them can come, a lot of them can't. I mean, the pressure on them with school is pretty amazing. So we have some of our teacher readers and some teen readers. So the first Torah reader is going to be Susan Simon. The first Aliyah, we're going traditional. We want Kohen and Levi. So we call upon Anita Block. And if Steve wants to go with you, he certainly can. I wasn't sure if he was coming, but we'd like it. So John, that's one more name for you to get that's not on your list though. All right, so there are microphones. So Joan, you're gonna have to help them with that. Yeah, you got it. And John, you got yours over there. And the Torah reader, you have yours over there.
Yazov Yagen Vyoshila Kalachosim Bomen Amar. Amen. Hakal Hovagodol Elohenu Tenu Kavod La Torah Kohen Karav Yamdu. Wrong one. Chana Bat Edith Velev HaKohen Vechana Ben Lev Lichod Rivi Vechayim Ben Lev Lichod Rishon Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato V'yatem Adikim B'nei Elohechem Chaim Kolchem Hayom.
Ach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Elohim Melech Asher B'Eloi Mikol Ha'amin.
Amen, amen. Vayhi achar dvarim ha'ele v'ha'Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav בנך את יחידך, אשר אהבת את יצחק, ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה, ועלהו שם לעולה, על אחד ההרים, אשר אומר אליך, וישכם אברהם בבוקר, ויחבו של חמורו, ויקח את שני נעריו איתו, ואת יצחק בנו, ויבקץ עולה, ויקום וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah tameh v'chayei olam natan b'tzalmenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Yasher Koach, second Aliyah. We are on page 104 now, and this is the question. Wait, Isaac wants to know, where's the offering? And Abraham says, God will see to it. For the second Torah, we will call upon Asher Mechlin, and the second Aliyah, we're going to call upon Sid Levy. Originally, David and Lori Rosenthal, also a Levi, but Lori broke her arm, so we wish her a speedy recovery. And we have another Levi here instead.
So I just take it off, find the thing, yes? Okay, sorry, I just...
Yamod Sviven Hirsch Leib Halevi. Yamod Sviven Hirsch Leib Halevi.
Okay, sorry. It starts by oh, it's like or there.
Barku et Adonai Hambarak. Baruch Adonai Hambarak le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bo karbanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et toratu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Bayom hashlishi, vayisal Avraham. Oh wait, sorry. Edenav, vayar tamakom merachok, vayomer Avraham al narav, shevu lachem po imach amur, ve'ani ve'hanar, nilche arav v'nishtavav v'neshuva Elohim, vayikach Avraham et etzei ha'ula, vayasem al Yitzchak beni, ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, וילכו שניהם יחדיו. ויאמר יצחק על אברהם אליו, ויאמר אבי, ויאמר הנני בני, ויאמר הנה האש והעצים, ואייהשה לעולם. ויאמר אברהם Elohim, yare lo haseh, leola veni, I'm sorry, I'm just very stressed. Leola veni, sorry, I lost my place. I'm really sorry, I'm just kind of out of it. Just a bit stressed.
That's it, buddy.
Okay,
Where are
sorry.
you? Oh, that's it. Okay, so you're almost
ילכו שניהם יחדיו.
Hold the yad there.
Sorry, I was just really
You're
stressed.
good. Are you going to touch me?
That's your father. No, him. Let him do it. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher notan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam notan b'sachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Hey, Yasher Koach. All right, the angel's going to call him off on this third aliyah, page 104. We call upon Isaac Fireman, now a senior in high school. This is, I think, probably the 5th year in a row he's done this Torah reading, and that's Yasher Koach. It's probably it, though, for him, at least here at this venue. And we call upon his parents, Matthew and Caroline, for the aliyah.
Right here by your cup. Right here. Right where?
Remember to hold on there with your hand.
Okay.
Wait, where? I don't see it at all.
But you're going to hold on to it the whole time to keep that open.
Is that right?
I don't see it at all.
What are you looking for?
Vayavo. Amen.
Vayavo? Oh yeah. Vayavo. Sorry. My
Yeah.
fault. That's not it. It's higher up probably. Supposed to be verse 9.
Yeah, Hushneichem Yachtav. There you
Vayavo.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yamdu Matid Yahu ben Levi Shena ve'Aharona bar Abraham ve'Sarah lichvod shlishi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam
Baruch Adonai Hamram Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Vayavo El Hamakom Asher Amar Lo Elohim Vayiven Sham Avraham et Hamizbeach Vayaruch Ha'etzim Vayakod et Yitzchak Beno Vayasem Oto Al Hamizbeach Mima'al Ha'etzim Vayishlach Avraham et Yado Vayikach et Amachel et Lishchod et Beno V'krai elav Malach Adonai min Hashamayim Vayomer Avraham Vayomer Hineni Vayomer al tishlach yadecha el hana'ar ve'al taslo me'uma ki ata yadati kirei Elohim ata v'lo chasachta et bincha yichidecha mimeni. V'yis Avraham e'enav vayar v'hine ayil achar nechas basvach bekarnav vayelech Avraham vayikach et ha'ayil v'yalehu le'olah tachat beno. Vayikra Avraham Shem Hamakom Hahu Adonai Yireh Asher Yamer Hayom Behadonai Yireh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam natan b'kofenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. We are now on the 4th aliyah. Yasher Koach, and thank you, Isaac, and maybe Hillel or Chabad or wherever you go will have the benefit of you reading Torah next year on the high holidays. I'm sure that's the first thing you're going to do when you get to campus. You will be volunteering for the Torah reading. All right, the 4th is that where we are? Yeah, the 4th aliyah. Now the promise that the descendants will be numerous as the stars in the heavens and the sands on the sea. And Joan Corin our regular Torah reader and Torah assigner, which just a plug now. Lots of openings all the time. Don't think someone else is gonna take it. You know, if no one else will take it, maybe, no, just take it. She could use a lot of help. We could use a lot of help. She's gonna read the Torah today, and Aviv Berlin will recite this Aliyah.
Ta'amod Aviv bat Yosef Aravadel Lichvod Revi'it.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chapanu mikohanim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Adonai noten Torah. Amen.
Amen. Vayikra malach Adonai el Avraham, shenit min hashamayim, vayomer binishpati ne'um Adonai, ki ya'an asher asita tadavar hazeh, velo chasachta et binchat yechidecha, ki varecha varechecha, veharba arbet zaracha, kechochvei hashamayim, vechachol asher al sfat hayam, vayirash zaracha et sha'ar oivav, v'hitbarechu v'zaracha kol goyei haaretz, ekev asher shamata b'koli. Vayashov Avraham el ne'arav, vayakumu, vayelchu yachdav el Beersheva, vayeshev Avraham b'Beersheva.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach. Thank you, Aviv. And we're going to turn to the fifth Aliyah, the generations. It's on page 105. We call upon Ellie Schleining to read the Torah, and her mom and her brother, Lissy and Max, for the Aliyah.
Yamdu Esther bat Chaim v'Devar Menachem Lev ben Esther Lichvod Chamishi.
Yasher Koach. We rise for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, Vimeru, Amen. Yehesh Meraba Mevarach, Leolam Olam Eomaya Yidbarach, Yidbarach V'yishtabach, V'yidpar V'yidramah V'yidnaseh, Vid Hadar, Vid Alev, Vid Halal, Shmei Kudesha Brichu, Leila Min Kol Berchata V'Shirata, Tush Bechata V'Nechemata, Damiran V'Alama V'Meru.
Amen. Yasher Koach, we may be seated. We're on 106, the Maftir, same as yesterday, the additional offerings to be brought. The original person who was supposed to do the Maftir, the Haftarah today, woke up with a sore throat, and although we think he's fine, okay, thank you, Sandy. We will lift the Torah in a second, but I'll tell you about this anyway. So Larry Miller, we wish you speedy recovery. There's no guarantee at all that he has COVID, but he's being safe, which is what we appreciate for everybody. And so his very longtime synagogue friend, Andy Wasserman, will do the Haftarah. And also, Hazni Yael was just about ready to do the Haftarah too, so we got an embarrassment of riches here. And thank you all for your flexibility. We rise, so sorry I sat you down, for the Hagma and Galila, the lifting and the dressing of the Torah. And let's see, the first one, it is Marty Stone and Barbara Ostroff.
Yamod, Hamagvia Tamod, Hagolelet.
So this Torah is lighter but less balanced. Especially if you're righty, it's tough. There could be one right here, if you want. Torah Asher Samoshe. Eitz Ila machazikim ba vetom chehame ushar. Eitz chayim hi la machazikim ba vetom chehame ushar. Derachei darchei noham vechol nativotei hashalom. Derachei darchei noham vechol nativotei hashalom. Yai lai lai yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. Yasher Koach. Oh, and I forgot to give you the special place to do the Hagbah, but you managed? All right. So now we're going back to whatever I just said, whatever page that was. The additional reading is for the extra offering brought on the holidays comes from the book of Numbers. And I don't remember what page it's on, but you're probably there. 106. So we call upon his good friend Andy Wasserman for the Maftir, and as a Torah reader, Joel Mendelson. So there he is. Yep. So Joel, I got it confused. I thought he was reading yesterday, but Oscar was reading yesterday, his son. So I'm glad you both get to share the reading, though. It is a twofer.
So there's where you're starting. You're going to hold on here with your left hand. Sure. I'm going to turn this on.
Yamud Hillel ben Goshen v'Rachel lichvod Maftir.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. U'vachodesh hashvi'i be'echad lachodesh mikra kodesh yihye lachem kol melechet avodah lo tasu yom truah yihye lachem v'asitem ola l'reach nichoach l'Adonai par ben bakar echad ayil echad כבשים בני שנה שבעה תמימים ומנחתם סולת בלולה בשמן 13 עשרונים לפר 2 עשרונים לעיל ועשרון אחד לכבש האחד לשבעת הכבשים ושעיר עזים אחד חטא לכפר עליכם מלבד עולת החודש ומנחתה ועולת התמיד ומנחתה ונזקיהם כמשפטם לריח ניחוח של אדוני.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Inclusive blessing for all who read. Mishabech Avtein Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarav Karach Avlei V'Rech Et Kol Karim Asher Alu Hayom Likvod HaMakom Likvod HaTorah Likvod Yom Hadin HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Otam V'et Kol Mishpachotehem V'Yishlach Ravatzcha B'chol Masei Yadem V'Yichtevem V'Yachtemem L'chaim Tovim Bazeh Yom Hadin Im Kol Yisrael Achehem V'Achotehem V'Nomar Amen. And we're thinking especially those who are ill in our community, including Scott Lawrence, Dahlia Bat Razel, Hazan Shlomo Natan Ben Nechama, Barbara Rose, Lou Burl, Ilya Oak, Karina Gola Bat Hodav Yehuda Tzvi, Lehudit Bat Shena, Shabtai Dov Ben Shimon Moshe, Manuel Ben Sara, Ray Ranshaw, Missy Rosen, Albert Alter, Rosie Gurman, Leah Bat Shimon Lazar, Bob Rasters, Justin Hardy, Yechiel Ben Eliza, Eva Abrams Heimowitz, Martin Rosenthal, Shulamit Bat Leah, Miriam Bat Yehudit, Adele Mendelson, David Snyder, Marina Gottschalk, Carmel Ria Bat Ariel Sara, Leah Bat Zalman V'Fredela, Levi Ben Zev V'Chana. If you have any other names that you wish to add to our prayers today, please just go ahead and say them out loud at this time. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We call upon Rachel and Andrew Dornhelm Campbell now for the Hagba and Galila. Please rise.
Yamod, Hamagbia Tamod, Hagolelet.
Torah asher sa Moshe lifnei v'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Yasher koach. We may be seated. The Haftarah is found on page 111 from Jeremiah, chapter 31. Talked to you a little bit about his journey yesterday, the journey of Jeremiah, how painful it was. He was ridiculed by his own people. He was imprisoned at one point. He had to warn them that terrible things would happen if they didn't improve their behavior. And then when they happened, he had to comfort the very same people. And that is the passage we see here. You see both the sadness, pain of the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile in this, but also the hope that they will return. The people will return to the land. God will return to the people. We will return to ourselves, and it will all turn to compassion. Perhaps the most famous line is sort of kind of near the end. A cry is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comfort. But then God says, restrain your voice from weeping. There will be a reward for your labor. There will be hope for your future. You're by yourself. You can do no mask if you want to.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'amarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah ובמשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת וצדק. כה אמר אדוני, מצא חן במדבר, עם שרידי חרב, הלוך להרגיעו ישראל, מרחוק אדוני נראה לי, באהבת עולם אהבתיך, על כן משכתיך חסד. עוד אבנך ונבנית,
betulat Yisrael, od taditu payech, ויצא במחול משחקים, עוד תיתי חרמים בהרי שומרון, נטו נוטים וחיללו, כי יש יום קראו נוצרים בהר אפרים, קומו ונעלה ציון אל אדוני אלוהינו, כי כה אמר אדוני, רנו ליעקב שמחה, וצהלו בראש הגויים, השמיעו הללו ואמרו, הושע אדוני את עמך, את שארית ישראל. הנני מביא אותם מארץ צפון, וקיבצתים מירכתי ארץ, בם עיוור ופיסח, הרה ויולדת יחדיו, קהל גדול ישובו הנה. בבכי יבואו ובתחנונים, אויבי להם, הוליכם אל נחלי מים, בדרך ישר, לא ייכשלו בם, כי הייתי לישראל לאב, ואפרים בכורי הוא. שמעו דבר אדוני גויים, והגידו ואיים ממרחק, ואמרו מזרעי ישראל יקבצנו, ושמרו חרוה עדרו, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ובאו ורננו במרום ציון, ונהרו אל טוב אדוני, על דגן ועל תירוש ועל יצהר, ועל בני צאן ובקר, והייתה נפשה כגן רבה, ולא יוסיפו לדאבה עוד. אז תזמח בתולה במחול, ובחורים וזקנים יחדיו, והפכתי אבלם לששון, וניחמתים, ושימחתים מגונם. ורביתי נפש הכהנים דשן, וימי את טובי ישבעו נאום אדוני. כה אמר אדוני, קול ברמה נשמע, נהי בכי תמרורים. רחל מבכה על בניה, מענה להנחם על בניה, ki einenu. Ko amar Adonai, mini kolech mi bechi, ve'enayich mi dim'ah, ki yesh sachar lefulatech niyum Adonai, v'shavu me'eretz oyev, v'yesh tikva la'acharitech niyum Adonai, v'shavu vanim ligvulim. Shamoa shamati, Ephraim mitnoded, Yisartani v'ivaser, ke'egel lo lumad, hashiveni v'ashuva, ki ata Adonai Elohav. Ki acharei shuvi nichamti, v'acharei hivad'i, safakti al yarech, boshti v'gam nichlamti, ki nasati cherpat nurav. Haven yakir li Ephraim im yeled shashuim ki midei dabri bo zachor es kerenu od al ken hamu me'aylo rachem arachamenu nium Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'yoseh, hamdaber umkayem, she'kol devarav emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davar echad midvarecha achor lo yeshuv reikam, ki el melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion ki bet chayenu, v'lalu vat nefesh toshia b'mhera v'yameinu. Baruch ata Adonai, mesameach Tzion bevaneha. Samchenu Adonai Eloheinu, be'eliyahu hanavi avdecha, uv'malchut Beit David Mashichecha, b'mhera yavo v'yagel libenu, al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od acherim et kavodo, ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo, shelo yichben nero leolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai magen David. Al haTorah v'al havodah v'al hanvi'im v'al yom hazikaron hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu lechavod ultefaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad baruch ata Adonai melech al kol ha'aretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron.
Yasher Koach. All right, so we're just about at the shofar service, and somebody wanted me to, and it's a great idea, to remind people or let people know there's bathrooms and water at the Baum Center if you need. And so on Yom Kippur, I may even still announce it, but maybe I won't. I don't know that for now, because in the hot sun, right, we got to take care of ourselves. That's the most important thing. So we're going to ask Aaron Paul to go ascend the balcony stairs. And so we'll give him a few moments while we turn to page 118. Thank you, Andy. Thank you to all our Torah readers. The shofar exclaims, "Wake up from your slumber. Examine your deeds and turn in repentance, remembering your Creator. You sleepers who forget the truth while caught up in the fads and follies of the time, fritting away your years in vanity and emptiness which cannot help. Take a good look at yourself, improve your ways. Let everyone abandon their bad deeds and their wicked thoughts. When the Holy One on Judgment Day begins to judge, God ascends the throne of strict judgment, as it is written, the God of judgment has ascended with acclamation. When the people of Israel standing in judgment sound the shofar, the Holy One is filled with mercy and moves to the throne of compassion." I'm going to head upstairs. And Hazani, yeah, if you want to just sing, yeah, go ahead and sing that paragraph on 119.
Min hametza karatia anani v'merchavia koli shamatal talem uznecha Roshi devarcha emet uleolam kol mishpat tzidkecha arov avdecha letov al yashkuni zedim Sasanochi al imratecha kemotzeh shalal rahav Tuvtam vadad lamdeni ki v'mitzvotecha hemanti nidvad pi etzen Adonai umishpatecha lamdeni.
Please rise. We're going to blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidderנו mitzvotav v'tzivanu lashmoa kol shofar.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Tekiah. Shivarim Truah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim Truah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah. Yasher Koach. Thank you so much to Aaron Paul, who's been doing that for us for, oops, sorry about that, several decades. Past president, an amazing member and human being. Yasher Koach, and thank you. All right, we're going to stay standing. Well, actually, no, we're not, because I think we have Ashrei now, so you can be seated. Do we have any high schoolers, middle schoolers and high schoolers? If you're here, come on up. Yeah, middle schoolers and high schoolers, you're coming up. Middle schoolers and high schoolers, they need extra support. So that's, yes. And yes, Angela, your niece should be coming up too. Come on, Talia, we need you. All right. So the page is 120, 120. We have a fair amount of middle schoolers today, so that's pretty good, but. Okay, there's a bunch in there. All right, they're coming. You look fabulous. Okay, wait one more moment. May it be your will, our God and God of our ancestors. The cries of this shofar rise up to your throne, and they serve us as atonement for all our sins. Baruch atah, Master of mercy. Blessed are you. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Sharonai Elohav. Asher Koach. we rise for the return of the Torah to the Ark. We're going to call upon Marshall and Leah Wildman to come up. You're going to carry Torahs for not very long. Awaiting the late start from UCLA, where both siblings attend. They're both athletes, so, you know.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keheren leyamo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo, hallelujah, hallelujah. LeDavid Mizmor, Seu Sherim Roshechem Vehinasu Pitchei Olam, Ve'yavo Melech Hakavod Hakavod. Mi ze Melech Hakavod, mi ze Melech Hakavod. Adonai Izuz ve'gibor, Adonai gibor melchama. Seu sherim roshechem useu pitchei olam. Ve'yavo melech hakavod hakavod. Mihu ze melech hakavod, mihu ze melech hakavod, Adonai tzevaot, hu melech hakavod. Selah, v'nucha yomar. Eitz chayim hi lamachazikim ba v'tocheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh chadesh yameinu chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Amen. All right, we may be seated, and we can close our books for a few moments. However, I will not be giving the drash today. Rabbi Andrea Berlin will be giving the drash today, so it's a nice break for me. I don't have a printed biography of her, but I'm going to, from what I know, here's what I know, so I might get a few things wrong. Rabbi Berlin is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, having also spent a lot of time in the Boston area. She was ordained as a rabbi in 1998 from the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. Her first job was as the assistant and then the associate rabbi at Temple Sinai, just down the road. She's been very involved in the bigger picture of the Reform movement and other rabbinic things. She's been president of PAR, which is the Pacific Area of Reform Rabbis. She's also been the chair of the Ethics Commission, or whatever they're calling that these days, and also things having to do with rabbinic congregational relationships. So she's had to solve a lot of problems through, with a lot of very challenging situations. I suppose, well, most importantly, she is married to John and has two great kids, Aviv and Asher. Really, probably not at all important, but we're proud that she's a member of Temple Beth Abraham. So maybe that's not as important in the grand scheme of things, but it's important to us, and we value your membership. But also, she's been great in subbing when I'm away. And she has a real job outside of being a rabbi as well. She is a consultant and trainer on all kinds of different things. Maybe she'll tell you about that, maybe she won't. So I gave her the theme. First of all, I'd given her the theme of gratitude. And but then I changed it, as you know. So I changed it and I said, it's more the ups and downs, the vicissitudes of life, hope, despair. And this tells you something about her, probably more than me. She just, I think, heard hope. And I can't imagine that's what I actually said, although I'm sure that was in there. But how wonderful that you heard hope. So I believe that her remarks will address that part of the journey today. So thank you once again. Really appreciate you being here.
Of course. And I did, by the way, I changed my sermon after I heard your real theme. So it's a little bit different. And I also want to, I was going to say this either way, but thank you for the really kind words. I also really want to thank Rabbi Bloom. I deal with a lot of rabbis. I might have to switch to sunglasses, for which I apologize. But I work very closely with rabbis. I work very closely with synagogues. It has been a very, very difficult couple of years for congregational rabbis. And Rabbi Bloom, thank you for handling it with grace, keeping us all safe, keeping us spiritually lifted. And the whole temple staff, just how quickly they pivoted and what a beautiful setting they gave us, and so many really holy choices to be able to participate in the high holidays. I especially want to thank Chazani Krieger and Rabbi Bloom. They have been leading services facing the sun for 2 days straight with it beating down on them. You have not worn sunglasses. I'm not sure how you've done that, but just the stamina and the fortitude with which they've lifted our souls for Rosh Hashanah is incredible, and I'm sure will be also for Yom Kippur. So as Rabbi Bloom shared, life's a journey, and his theme has been the proverbial ups and downs that we experience as we go through this journey of life. And on this second day of Rosh Hashanah, which is the commemoration of the Earth's birth, and I'm very happy we commemorated both Rabbi Bloom and Mira Elul and a whole bunch of other people's birth yesterday. We continue with the Earth's birth today. I'd like to share about the convergence of these ups and downs, of our challenges and our joys. Most of you already are familiar with the one version of how the world was created, the version of Tikkun Olam. So God realized in order to create the world, God had to tzimtzum. God had to pull back and make space in which the world would be created. And to do this, God built vessels in which to store God's very self. But of course, can God be stored and contained in vessels? No, God cannot. And these vessels burst, and shards everywhere, and chaos and disrupt. And it was in this very imperfect and chaotic and disrupted space that God created the world. But I think there's something momentous that happened after this story. God had to find a place of wholeness in which to dwell, not in the shards and the disrupt. God had to find among these broken shards some place that was whole and perfect in which to place God's self. And there's really only one place in the whole universe that is both broken and whole. It is the only place where both joy and sadness can dwell, fear and bravery, kindness and hatred, love and anger. This place of brokenness and of wholeness is where God lives. So where is this exceptional place of brokenness and wholeness? It's the human heart. It's our heart. It is our very brokenness, our very humanness, which actually gives rise to holiness. If you've ever been to a Jewish wedding, think of the most joyous moment, the moment that we erupt and sing in Simon Tov Amaz. I don't sing, sorry. The moment that we erupt in this singing of joy. When is this moment? It is the moment right after we break the glass, when shards of pain and brokenness and destruction lay before us. This gladness, this song and clapping and cheer rise from the broken shards of the glass that is lying at the feet of the betrothed. It is from our brokenness that joy erupts. It is from our brokenness that holiness grows. It is from our brokenness that human greatness rises. From our brokenness, kindness and compassion swell. Some of you here are young, middle school, high school. I know you're representing. There may be some younger that can hear what I'm saying. But all of you here were children at some point. And think of a child when you were sick and feverish, you were achy. Think of when maybe you've fallen off your bike and skinned your knee or broken your finger. Our bodies break. They hurt. We know, especially these last year and a half, they catch germs. Yet it is in this moment of brokenness that the most intimate, loving, and important of human relationships is highlighted. Our memories of sickness and hurt are, or at least they should be, interwoven with our memories of our caretaker's tender touch. Ask a child how much they hate being homesick. How many of them will respond with joy at having one parent to themselves for a day? How many will smile with the sly pleasure of missing a day of school and instead cuddling in bed with a grown-up's kisses and whispers, or getting to watch as much TV, or I guess today gaming, as they want? Some of you know our son Asher has asthma, at times so severe that his dad and I would lose our own breath with the anxiety that the hospital visits would bring us. But if you ask him his memories, thank God he seems to have grown out of it, if you ask him his memories of having asthma, he would say that the hospital is rivaled only by a day at Six Flags, where Rabbi Berlin's son has worked this summer. He reports that spending the night in the hospital is actually quite fun. The staff brings him whatever he wants to eat and drink. He can watch as much TV as he likes, and he has the singular attention of one of his parents. It is when the body breaks that he feels the wholeness and the compassion that is around him. Wholeness and brokenness swirling together through the raspy nights. Some of you may know that there's a term in emotional trauma work that's called strong in the broken places. From my understanding, it actually comes from the medical community, that our bones are strongest at the point at which they break. Strong in the broken places. So too is our spirit. It is where it has been broken that we actually find the most wholeness. I just returned back to the Bay Area from a trip to Boston where, after moving a aforementioned son, Asher, into his dorm, I hung out with my sister and her family. In particular, I actually got to spend time with two others as well, of my amazing nieces. I'm very lucky to have some incredible nieces and one nephew. But my sister and her spouse did not have an easy path on the way to parenthood. Like many, many people, they had ongoing difficulties and real, tangible loss. After one of these lost hopes, my sister describes the time as awful and dark. Yet she says she never felt so loved and so blessed. Her friends, her siblings, her parents, her husband blanketed her in the depth of familial love. She explains that she learned about the strength of her marriage and fell in love again with who her husband could be after a tragedy, in addition to the love she already felt toward him. She gave me permission to share this story, not because she believes that everyone's journey will resolve as hers did with two incredible daughters. We know that these difficulties take a different direction for each family. But she desires that I share it because of how remarkable that time was. In the brokenness of pain and sorrow, she felt the profound connection of those who love her most. And those relationships are whole and holy and existed strongest in her brokenness. We are taught that in order to become whole, we must first be broken. Some would say the most important instructions in our Torah, are the 10 Commandments. And how do we have them? How did we come by this pinnacle of Jewish tradition? It was after a moment of brokenness that we received the tablets that would guide all of humanity for centuries to come. In a moment of rage infused with weakness, we know that Moses smashed these tablets to the ground. A brokenness in our covenant with God. A brokenness in the very structure of society. And only after this brokenness, only after this shattering, did we receive the 10 Commandments to which we adhere this very day. As Rabbi Berlin said yesterday, 5781 has been a tough year. The epidemics of climate change and COVID-19 are cracking our world and swallowing millions of lives. There's nothing that relieves the pain of this destruction. There is nothing that should. I do wonder, though, if this can be humanity's strong in the broken places. This could be the final wake-up call to teach us that we will not survive long on this earth until we survive together. That we no longer have the luxury of borders, but are a single global entity living the consequences of each other's actions and decisions. If we ever get this message, imagine how strong, how indomitable as a human race we could be. Let me be clear, though. I would prefer a world that is not broken. A world free from the shards of pain and loneliness and sadness that we all must face. But since we do have it, I am grateful that the human spirit is one that rises bright and glorious from such pain. And since we know that at times we must be broken, how astonishing is it that we can find a measure of the holiness that can come from it. We are working towards the final blast of the shofar that we will hear at Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur afternoon. It is the climax of this high holiday season, the crowning moment. Tekiah Gedola is a clear, unbroken crystal. It's a sound of the ram's horn. But to get there, to get to this clear, beautiful, long sound, we must first hear the broken sounds of shvarim and teruah. All throughout these last 30 days of Elul, and again today on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, and then the next day of the Yemim Noraim, we will hear this broken, halting blasts of shvarim and teruah. And it is after these broken shards of the shofar that we come again to Tekiah Gedola, that we come finally to wholeness. We are like that. We are like the shofar, broken pieces, striving to be whole. And it is in our moments of our most base imperfections that we do find holiness. And it is in this discovery that we find a path towards wholeness. There are those with us today, and those of you currently watching at home or later, that are feeling broken. There are parts of our lives which may currently be shattered and difficult. Is there a wholeness that we can find? Is there a memory, a relationship, a kindness on which our shards actually rest? We must be able to trust that those around us, the ones who love us, can find a foundation for our brokenness, if only they know our pain. In our brokenness, we can reach for each other. A friend, a family, a rabbi, counselors. It is through them that we can actually reach for wholeness. Think of Moses. After he left with the broken shards of the Ten Commandments, brokenness in his care for God's people, brokenness in his holy task, brokenness in his trust for his brother Aaron. What does Moses do? How does he find a place of wholeness? He reaches out. He reaches towards God. God is his friend and his advisor. For us, it may be God. It may be another human being. It is the act of reaching that can bring us to wholeness. It is the act of reaching that is the holiness that can make strong the broken places. So let us do this today. Let us reach. Reach for each other. Reach for those who are closest, those perhaps that you would like to be closer, those for whom your soul is close but may be far away. Because reaching out from our shards, that is the act of healing. And in that way, I do pray that we all find Tekiah Gedola. It is in this way that we might find the height, the strength, and the clarity of the final call of the shofar blast. It is in this way we may find ourselves. Kin yehi ratzon. May this indeed be God's will. Amen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Berlin, for both giving me some personal time for respite and prepare, and a moment that I could also just reflect and listen off your beautiful words. And we'll think of that when we hear the shofar, which, by the way, we will hear one more time from Aaron Paul, not yet, but at the end of Musaf, and we'll hear the broken Truah, as well as the beautiful Tekiah Gedolah. We're going to continue now with our Musaf service. The Hatzi Kaddish part is back, I think, on page 127, maybe?
123.
123. And then we're going to go straight from there to the Amidah out loud on 141. Please rise.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'yolma divrach yirteh ve'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael bagala u'v'zman kariv v'meru amen Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lo me'ol maya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביומה ויאמרו אמן. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibur v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh HaKol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot ומביא גואל לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מיסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים הבטחה פי בתפילה ותחנונים לחלות ולחנן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני האדונים זכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך מהמית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה מי כמוך אהב הרחמים זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Laura, Gabrielle, if you would go to the Ark as we're going to prepare for its opening for the Untitled Chapter on page 143. Oh, the tricky upper lock. It's so tall, I've never even seen that lock there.
ובכן ולך תעלה קדושה, כי אתה אלוהינו מלך מלכי וסולח. ונתנה תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא והיום, ובוא תנשא מלכותך, וייכון בחסד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת, ותשב עליו באמת. אמת כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח ויודע ואין, וכותב וחותם וסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחו, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומעליו יקרב וחותם יד כל אדם בו, ובשופר גדול ייתקע, וכל דממה דקה יישמע, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחיל רדה יוחזון, ויאמרו הנה יום הדין, לבכות על צבא מרום בדין, כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין. וכל באי עולם יעברון לפניך כבני מרון, כבקרת רועה דרור, מעביר צאנו תחת שבטו. כן תעביר ותספור ותמנה ותבכות נפש כל חי, ותחתוך קצבה לכל בריאה, ותכתוב גזר דינם, בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון, בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. כמה יעבורון וכמה יבראון, מי יחיה ומי ימות, מי בקיצו ומי לא בקיצו, מי באש ומי במים, מי בחרב ומי בחיה, מי ברעב ומי בצמא, מי בצמא. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון, בראש השנה
ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון.
מי ורש ומי ומגפה, מי וחניקה ומי והשכילה, מי והשכילה. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון, בראש השנה ייכתבון. haser mi ani umi ashir mi ushpal mi arum uteshuva utefila utzedaka mavirin et roha hagzera.
If you wish to read this with me, you certainly can. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many will pass on, and how many will be born? Who will live, and who will die? Who will live a long life, and who will come to an untimely end? Who will perish by fire, and who by water? Who by sword, and who by beast? Who by hunger, and who by thirst? Who by earthquake, and who by plague? Who will be strangled, and who will be stoned? Who will be at peace, and who will be troubled? Who will be serene, and who will be disturbed? Who will be tranquil, and who will be tormented? Who will be impoverished, and who will be enriched? Who will be brought low, and who will be raised up? But teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah have the power to transform the harshness of our destiny. We remain standing, but the ark is closed. The bottom of page 140, Aseh Laman.
עשה למען שמך וקדש שמך ומקדישי שמך בעבור כבוד שמך הנערת והנקדש.
Top of 145.
כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש דרי מלאים דרי מטה ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאו מלוך כל הארץ כבודו כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה איה מקום כבודו לאומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו הוא יפם ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מדיר שמך בכל הארץ והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה. חמור למעשיך ותשמח במעשיך, ויאמרו לך חוסך, ושדך מוסיך, תוקדש אדון על כל מעשיך.
146, the bet portion of this piyut. And the Siddur says you can be seated. Machzor says you can be seated, so you can be seated.
האדן יחידי לבאי עולם, האדן יחידי לבאי עולם, וכל מאמינים מאמינים, וכל מאמינים שהוא דיין אמת, הגוי באיה אשר אהיה, הגוי באיה אשר אהיה, וכל מאמינים מאמינים, וכל מאמינים שהוא היה והווה ויהיה. הוודאי שמו כתהילתו, הוודאי שמו כתהילתו, וכל מאמינים מאמינים, וכל מאמינים שהוא ואין בלתו.
We turn to page 151, top of the page, 151.
ותמלוך אתה אדוני לבדך כל מעשיך, בהר ציון משכן כבודך, ובירושלים עיר קודשך, ככתוב בדברי קודשך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לו עמי בלעדיך. ככתוב ויגבר אדוני צבאות במשפט, והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
Amen. All right, we're going to go to 154. Again, we're abbreviating in the hot sun. This is the three-part section of Malchiyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. Sovereignty or kingship, remembrance, and Shofarot, which really stands for revelation. Normally there's a shofar blow at the end of each section. We're only going to do parts of each section. We're only going to do the shofar blow at the end of the third section. But for this first section now, on 154, it's the Great Aleinu. It's where you lie down on the ground if you are so inclined. Jacqueline, why don't you open the ark for this one? Please rise, 154.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol lateh gedula leotze bereshit shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
All right, we can be seated, and we're going to turn to the very end of that section on page 157. Our God of our ancestors, make us holy through your commandments, and let the Torah be our portion. Fill our lives with your goodness, and gladden us with your triumph.
B'taher?
Yeah.
B'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet, ki ata Elohim emet u'varcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, melech hakol haaretz, mekadesh Yisrael. Melech hakol haaretz, mekadesh Yisrael. Ve'yom hazikaron.
Amen. 160, the top of the page, Zichronot. And Aaron, if you want to start making your way up to the balcony, our shofar blower, Aaron Paul, if you want to make your way up, go on ahead. Ata zocher on top of 160.
Ata zocher maseh olam ufokei kol yitzurei kedem. Lefanecha niglu kol talumot v'hamon nistarot shemi bereshit.
For their sake, I will remember the covenant with that first generation whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations to be their God. I am Adonai. 162. Ki zocher.
Ki zocher kol nishkachot ata hu me'olam ve'in shichecha lifnei chisech vodeka. V'akidat Yitzchak l'zaro hayom berachamim tizkor. Baruch atah Adonai zocher haberit.
Amen. Shofar wrote, page 164, that first paragraph, Ata nigleta, part of it anyway.
Ata nigleta b'anan kvodecha, ahalam kedoshecha l'daber imam, min hashamayim hishmatam kolecha v'nigleta, aleihem be'arfalei tohar.
Our God and God of our ancestors, sound the great shofar proclaiming our freedom, raise up the banner signaling the ingathering of our exiles, draw near those scattered amidst the nations, and from the ends of the earth, assemble our dispersed. Bring us with song and boundless joy to Zion, your city, to Jerusalem, the site of your temple, where our ancestors brought their sacrifices and their offerings, as is written in your Torah. On your joyous occasions, your fixed festivals and new moons, shall sound the trumpets over your sacrifices and offerings. Thus they shall be a remembrance of you before your God. I, Adonai, am your God, for you hear the sound of the shofar. Ki ata shomea.
Ki ata shomea kol shofar mazin krua dome lach. Baruch atah Adonai shomea kol truat amo Yisrael berachamim.
Amen. I'll have you do the calls in just a moment, but I'm not quite seeing. He's there. All right, move over just a little bit. Yeah. Aaron, move over this way just a little bit. Yep. Yeah, even right in the center there. Perfect. All right, you're going to hear the calls. Hopefully you'll hear it through Yael.
Tekiah.
Please rise.
Shevarim Trua. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Trua. Tekiah Gedolah. mishpat kol yetzurei olamim im kevanim im kavadim im kevanim rachameinu kerachem aval bahanim ve'im kavadim eneinu lecha teluyot ad shetchonenu v'totzicha or mishpatenu ayom kadosh arashet sefatenu yerav lefanecha el ram v'nisa arashet sefatenu yerav lefanecha el ram v'nisa mevinu mazima bitu makshiv lekol tekiyatenu utkabel berachamim uveratzon seder shofrotenu.
We may be seated and we continue the Amidah out loud with Chazanit Yael, 167.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael tfilatam ve'shevet avodah l'devir beitecha v'ishay Yisrael tfilatam be'avat tekabel beratzon utehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha v'techazena eineinu v'shuvcha l'tzion berachamim baruch atah Adonai המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לה שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, אלוהי אבותינו עמד, צורך חיינו מגן אישנו. אתה לדור הדור נדל כל ספרתותיך, חיינו מסרים בידיך. על נשמתנו תולה, ועל נספת של ימנו, ועל נבלתך של הדרך. הטוב כי לא חל רחמך מרחם כי לא תמות חסדיך מעולם קיווינו לך ועל כולם יתברך בתרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד אבינו מלכנו זכור רחמך וכבוש כעסך וכל דבר וחרב ורעב ושבי ומשחית ועוון ושמד ומגפה ופגרה וכל מחלה וכל תקלה וכל קטטה וכל מיני פרעניות וכל גזירה רעה ושנאת חינם מעלינו ומעל כל בני בריתך ומעל כל העולם וכתוב לחיים טובים כל בני בריתך וכל החיים יודוך סלע ויעללו את שמך באמת הישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע ברוך אתה אדוני הטוב שמך ולכנה להודות אלוהינו ולאבותינו ברכנו בברכה משולשת בתורה הכתובה ידי משה עבדך המורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים עם קדושך כמור יברכך אדוני וישמרך יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. שים שלום בעולם טוב וברכה חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל לעמך ברכנו אבינו כולנו ככה באור פניך כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום לטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ונאמר כי וירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים, לחיים טובים תכתבנו. אלוהים חיים כותבנו בספר החיים, ככתוב ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Please rise for Hayom, page 170. Go ahead, Jacqueline, if you'd open that again.
Hayom te'amseinu, Hayom tevarcheinu, Amen. Hayom tegadleinu, Amen, Amen. Hayom titshenu letova, Amen, Amen. Hayom tichtevenu lechaim tovim, Amen. Hayom tishma shavatenu, Amen, Amen. Hayom tekabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu, Amen. Hayom titmechenu biminsikecha, Amen, 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 Amen. כהיום הזה תביאנו ששים ושמחים בבניין שלם, ככתוב היה נביאיך, להביא אותי אל הר קודשי ושמחתי בבית תפילתי, כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל עמים, וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום יהיה לנו לכל ישראל עד העולם. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Amen. 171, Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואימרו ואימרו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דהמירם בעולמה ואימרו ואימרו אמן.
Amen.
תקבל סלטון ובאות הון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דיבשמיה ואימרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואימרו ואימרו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואימרו.
and we remain standing for Aleinu, page 173.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגוהר עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Mourners and those observing Yortzeit, as well as anyone else who wishes to, please remain standing. All others should be seated. Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, page 174. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach irutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, v'chayedachol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach, leolam elomei almaya, yit barach v'ishtabach, v'it pa'ar v'it v'itnaseh, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemedi Kudsha, Barichu, La'ela, Mikol Berchata, Veshirata, Tushbechata, Venechemata, Damirat Bialma, Vimru, Amen. Yehei Shlama, Rabba, Min Shemaya, Mechaim, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Vimru.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom, Bimruma, Huyaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may the memory of the people you're thinking of today be a blessing to you always. All right, just a few announcements. There's Minyan tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the sanctuary. Is there a Beit Sefer tomorrow as well? There is religious school Beit Sefer, 4 o'clock. There is also Friday night services out here in the courtyard, and those have been really small, so we'd love to have you. We want to make sure we have a Minyan, of course. They're lovely, and it's not as hot as it is right now. And then, of course, Saturday morning services, 9:30 in the sanctuary, and many different services for Yom Kippur. Check your emails. In fact, I may be changing one of the times. We may be moving by 50, because I may have underestimated, so we may be moving the final service, Mincha and Ne'ilah, up by 15 minutes. That might not be a big deal to you, but it will be when you're waiting for your cherry Coke at the end of the services. So right now it's scheduled for 5:45. I'm pretty sure we'll be changing it to 5:30. Big thank yous to everyone, Chazanit, Yael Krieger, really appreciate our shofar blower, Baltikia, Aaron Paul. And if I forgot to thank yesterday's Gary Shern, absolutely as well. Rabbi Andrew Berlin for a beautiful and heartfelt moving drosh. Josh Mailman, doing all that sound, streaming it out there, and deleting rude comments in the... And just for coming, I want to thank and introduce you, if you don't know her, Irene Brower, who's sitting in the back row. She will be 101 at the end of this month. Irene Brower, Yasher Koach, Admev Esrim. All the honor and glory to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, of course, to our fabulous staff, Raina, Joe, Gilbert, Justin, Will, Virginia, Paulo, and everybody else. I think that's it. Well, okay, so we also have Susan and Rachel. Susan Simon and Rachel Fenves are our religious school director and preschool director. And actually, and Susan, of course, did all this stuff for the service too, including all the Torah reading, the assigning the Torah readings, all that fun stuff. So thank you to all of you. And if I missed anybody else, thank you. I really do appreciate you, even if I forgot you at this moment. So we are going to conclude with Adon Olam, page 175.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa b'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hoveh ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara ve'hu echad v'yein sheni lehamshil lo lehachpira ve'li reshit ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu eli ve'chai go'ali ve'tzor chavli be'et sahara ve'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi beyom ekra beyado afkid ruchi be'at yishan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Shana Tova Metuka and Gamar Chatima Tova, we now say.